Hey everyone, it's Professor Coquino. So we're really wrapping up the semester here in mass communications, and this is one of my really favorite chapters, and especially for you guys, the advertising chapter of mass communications. Probably you're looking for a career somewhere in this area in advertising. So I think having a foundation in the history and context is going to be really helpful. So advertising, right? I mean, we're exposed to something like 5,000 advertisements a day. You don't even think about it, right? You wake up in the morning and, check your email and your social media, and there's, already 100 advertisements there. You're on the train, you're walking on the street, you come to FIT, and, you're just bombarded by advertising. You might find advertising in this 360 mode where, say, you're walking up the escalator and the escalator is painted with an advertisement. So, it's unavoidable. You go into an Uber and the back of the car is vinyl coated with some kind of advertisement. Maybe the whole car is coated with it, right? Experiential marketing, the idea of, say, going to a concert that's brought to you by Red Bull, and people are walking around, brand ambassadors handing out Red Bull, and there's a big Red Bull sign behind the stage. Again, unavoidable. The idea of clutter, advertising just in your face all the time. What can you do about it? Well, a lot of ad agencies, their solution is just get more of it out there. So go back to the early history of advertising, right? 3,000 years BC, the Babylonians paid hawkers to, yell the prices of things at the market. The Romans painted advertisements on the wall for, the Colosseum and the events that they were going to have. Shop bills, news books, all kinds of things for, letting people know, awareness. This is what we have. I have a tavern. I'm selling stuff. Stay at my rooms, whatever it was. The Industrial Revolution. So this is where, the industry really started to come about, and there was more expendable money, so more consumer goods were available. People could buy things. They had a little more buying power. They were getting off the farms and going urban. So this is really a period of expansion for the advertising companies, and the idea of the first agencies. Someone who would broker, say, magazine ads or newspaper ads. So I could, say like, I'll buy the ads and I'll place them for you, that kind of thing. First agencies. And the first real full-service agency is NWA, and the idea of that agency was that they did everything, full service. They had the buying, they had the production, they had the monitoring, all in one area. Also at this time, you had some federal agencies as watchdogs. In 1914, the Federal Trade Commission was formed to kind of regulate the advertising industry. And other regulations here, a whole bunch of other kind of regulations. The industry tries to self-regulate itself so that, it has a good reputation, right? Looking at it in other media too, right? Radio was one of the first big mass communications to carry advertising, and a lot of big companies, Procter and Gamble, came up with this idea like, let's sell our soaps on radio by buying, not just a small spot, but buying the entire program and producing the program. So the idea of the soap opera, right, came from selling soap. So they would have these radio dramas, and then built into them would be these commercials for detergent and things like that. The war advertising, obviously, one of the big, things, selling war bonds. And then the television industry, obviously another big, advertising push here. The unique selling proposition. This meant, I could walk down the aisles and I could buy, two products. They're basically the same. Maybe they're, two soap products again, right? But, what makes one different than the other? So some type of unique selling proposition with these parity products that are basically the same. I mean, I could buy either one of them. They're probably going to work the same. But advertising makes one of them stand out. So here are the defenses of advertising. The idea that advertising supports economic growth. People use advertising to learn about things and products, and they are able to benefit from advertising. So a lot of mass media is considered free, right? Because there's advertisements built into it. A lot of times even, you could buy some kind of software, right? And you can get the free version, which has advertisements, or if you pay for the premium version, you don't get the advertisements. So advertising makes things free for some consumers. And, it just increases the national productivity. There's goods, there's services. They have to be made. They have to be sold. So it puts a lot of people to work. So some of the bad things about advertising, look at these guys. You look at it on the cover, it's false advertising. It looks wonderful. You open it home, it's some glop. You probably get more nutrition eating the box than eating that. You might even taste better, right? What else we have? Advertising to children. They're, exploited by advertising, right? They're going to sit there Saturday morning and watch cartoons loaded with advertisements and then run to their mom and dad saying they want a sugary breakfast cereal or a scary toy or something like that. So the idea of, again, advertising being kind of an intrusive, exploitive kind of function. Programmatic buying. So the idea that here, we have a certain kind of culture built into the way that we shop for products. And obviously internet and computers are helping us, right? We can research things, you can look over reviews and whatever, but also the advertisers can use this information for programmatic selling and marketing. So they can say, well, hey, you bought this, maybe you'll buy something similar to this, or maybe you'll buy it again, and they can kind of sell you those ads. So the idea of search engine optimization kind of marketing. Why am I seeing this ad? Because you shop for this item, that's why. Boutique agencies. So these aren't just foo-foo agencies. They're usually specialized agencies. So you might have a boutique agency that just deals with pets, or even dogs, or even dog food. So you can have these really kind of, niche agencies where you specialize in something that is very, very kind of, unique and niche, and you're going to become really familiar with that. So it's not like you're handling everything like a really big agency. You're kind of really being a specialist. And then how agencies make money and get paid. They may ask for a retainer, which is a payment for their services, basically, or they work on a commission basis where the more they sell, the more they make. And a lot of agencies are also in-house, which means that instead of me contracting out to an agency, I would have my own agency built in the house. So instead of me getting an agency to work for me, I basically hire ad people right in my company who are going to do my marketing and my production of media and all those kind of things. So it's a way to kind of, again, it's a boutique agency kind of within the corporation. So if you're going to work in an ad agency, where would you work? Maybe administration, if you're lucky enough to work your way up to the management area. You're going to make a lot of money. Account management. So these are the people who, basically deal with the client and communicate with the client, service the account, make sure the client is happy, communicate with them about, how the ads are doing, changes that you want to make, whatever. The creative. This is really my specialty: creative production, video, graphics, design. All these things go under the creative department. The media department, these are the people who buy spots, looking at, your product. Where would it be best placed? Let's place it in this particular magazine, on this particular radio hour, in this website or whatever. Market research. So this is, again, the feedback loop where, we're getting an idea of how it's doing, how it's selling. Ever since we launched this ad, what kind of metrics do we have? What kind of payback? What kind of return on the investment are we looking for? And then the public relations department, what we talked about last week, right? The idea of keeping the image and the brand quality high in people's minds, dealing with consumer problems and things like that. So this is the projection for the next 2 years. And obviously the advertising dollar has moved away from traditional media. So television has lost a lot, but you'll notice that the green internet one is growing. So that's really where most of the advertisers are saying, this is the new model for advertising. And, because it's got all those wonderful things kind of built into it, right? It's got the interactivity, it's got the measurement, the analysis, the targeting, all built right into it, so that it just makes it a more effective way to spend the advertising dollar. Lots of different kind of advertising. You have business to business, you have institutional corporate advertising, trade advertising. You might have, say, I'm a television producer, so I'm looking at a trade publication about, the newest video cameras or something like that. Retail, this is, the big one, where you go to Sephora, you buy some makeup. Promotional retail, this is where you might find someone on the street giving you some, free stuff, and kind of, industrial advertising, national consumer advertising. This is another one of the big ones, right? The idea of McDonald's, direct and interactive marketing. This is where we have, email advertising or direct mail advertising, internet marketing. Out of home used to be called outdoor advertising. So this is, again, billboards and seeing an advertisement, while you're sitting on the train. And then public service advertising, things like, McGruff the crime dog, he's coming back, or, advertising for COVID-19 protection, right? These are all public service type advertisements. So these regulations here, so you might have some muckraking or mudslinging, where Coke says, don't drink Pepsi because it's poisonous or whatever. Not that they really said that, but the idea that, you could have this kind of thing where, there's some lies or, truths, stretching the truth, things like that. Puffery is kind of like stretching the truth. And you could get a fine from the industry. You could get a cease and desist order where they would tell you to stop doing that. And you would also maybe have to correct what you said if it was inaccurate. So obviously, how many times have you seen an ad, maybe actually bought the product and then said, gee, this is not really what they said it was going to be, right? So the idea of truth in advertising, or, just not telling the whole truth. Stretching the truth. 9 out of 10 dentists use whatever toothpaste. Is it really true? I don't know. For a while, the tobacco companies were saying, doctors prefer to smoke this brand or something, right? So again, the industry tries to correct these things. The idea of islands for children's commercial. What that means is that at the end of the commercial, they have to show a real shot of what the product looks like, not a kind of weird, angle that makes it look bigger and better than it actually is. Sometimes you'll see on a box too, it'll say something enlarged for these purposes, and then when you open it up, it's much smaller or something like that. And then how do they, get an idea of how to advertise, how to, what's going to be the best kind of advertising? A lot of times it's through a lot of testing. So focus groups, bringing people to a closed movie theater and showing them a series of commercials and then asking them, what their feelings were about it. So this helps, the creative teams decide on the best method, the best kind of practice that's going to reach the consumer. obviously in digital here, right? We have, again, I was talking about the power of digital marketing and the new technology, the creative. This is where you could excel as next generation of advertisers, really taking advantage of the new technology and video content creation and internet marketing to really reach your audience this way. Here's the revenue from various internet platforms, and you can see Google is right up top. And then here again the trend. So the old trend was cost per thousand, CPM, and so the idea is the ad cost us this much, it reached this many thousand people. How much did it cost to reach each person? But that's old school. So it cost us to reach each person, but what good is that if none of those people actually bought anything? So now the new trend is ROI, return on investment. So we spend this much and we make this much. So what is our return on that investment? How does that advertising perform? How the metrics work? So we put out that many ads, and how many hits do we get? How many actual conversions do we get, which means people not only look at it on the web, or they actually plunk down their credit card and buy. And then the idea of keeping it honest and also avoiding toxic things like certain politics, racism, violence, sexual innuendo, all those kind of things built in to advertising. And here again, one of my favorite authors here, Seth Godin, the idea of the new marketing, permission marketing. So what this means is, you're kind of like not being just hawked at anymore. You're actively working with the advertiser, right? So you're giving feedback. You're saying how you like the item. Maybe you could try making it this way. I liked it, but I would like it more if you did this. So, this kind of idea of the advertiser and this two-way communication between the advertiser and the consumer, making it a win-win situation for both of them. Consumers are much smarter today, right? So Seth calls them prosumers, right? So they're not just consumers; they're savvy consumers. They're prosumers. So the advertisers have to really refine their communication and really meet these people and be honest, because how many times are you going to get fooled, right? You won't get fooled again. Also, this idea of segmentation. So again, when you look at thousands of YouTube channels, there are so many that may deal with the same thing. So I think I give the example of cooking all the time, but there's so many different kind of niches in cooking. So then how can advertisers monetize on that? So maybe you want to target the vegetarian market. Maybe you want to target the luxury market with lobster and caviar and stuff like that, truffles. Or maybe you want to target people who want a fast meal, busy people who need something air fried or Instapot or whatever, right? So the idea of different demographic segmentation and also psychographics, which is how people think and lifestyles, just the different kind of way of living and how you're going to target them. So the industry looks at people in different ways, right? So, everybody has a different kind of connotation here, where they're grouped into these different kind of categories. And it affects their psychographics. So some people are homebodies and homemakers and family-oriented. Other people want the latest technology. So I don't care if my phone works great. If there's a new one, I have to have it. That kind of thing. So how do advertisers use this to reach their various target audiences? Or how would you use it? And then to wrap things up here, again, with every industry, we have this idea of conglomeration and globalization. So we have to, reach a global market with a lot of large brands and communicate to different cultures. And the idea of these ad agencies being global themselves, where they're not just located in one country. They're this global agency that is all over the world, and they're owned by some major conglomerate. Spending looks like it's certainly going up. So again, you're in the right place. The industry is growing and it's healthy. And then finally, the media skills again. So, looking for false advertising. They may say something like, I put these breakfast cereals there, say something like, part of a healthy breakfast. And then you see the bowl of Lucky Charms, but beside it is a banana, a glass of milk, a yogurt, a piece of whole wheat bread, and then what part of the healthy breakfast is the Lucky Charms? It's the sugary artificial garbage that really supplies very little of the nutritional value. So again, this kind of puffery going on where it's not really precise. So intentional imprecision, it's called, where they tell you some, but they don't tell you everything. I don't like it. I think, again, prosumers are savvy to this. So if agencies are resorting to these kind of tactics, they're probably not going to fare that well.